Write the standard form of the equation of the ellipsoid centered at 1, 1, 0 that passes through points A is 6, 1, 0, B is 4, 2, 0, and C is 1, 2, 1. So what I do when I look at a problem like this is I just think about, what is this going to look like? Now, you don't have to think of it this way. You could just go through brute force and use algebra. But I just like to think about what I have here. So I'm just going to plot these. 1, 1, 0. So that's going to be right here. It's just coming off of those two here. There's 1, and there's 0. So it's right on the xy plane. And the next point is going to be 6, 1, 0. So that's also on the xy plane. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I go 6 in that direction. And 1 in the y direction. So 1 this way. 1 this way. All right, so there it is. So there's my point for that one. And this point P here, the first one I put down, this one here is the center. And then my next point is going to be 4, 2, 0. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 2. So that 2 would put me about there. And the 4 would put me here. So I would be about there, guys. So there's my other point. So this is my point P. Let me get the... This is A, this is B, and now C, notice what C does. I go up 1, I go to the right 1, nope, right 2. So it'll be here, there's my 2. And then up 1. So I'm going to come this way, and I'm going to go up 1, so I'm going to be about here. So my point's going to be about there. All right, so there's my points that I'm dealing with here. I'm going to move this point P on the other side so you don't confuse it with the other one. And this one here is going to be point C. All right, we'll deal with that one later. So the idea here is, when we're dealing with an ellipsoid, do you guys remember the shape? The shape looks like kind of like an egg. It's a three-dimensional, oops, what do you call it? Like a three-dimensional ellipse. You can think of it as. That's why I call it an ellipsoid. So it's like I'm going to take this shape here and center it there, stretch it out some more, so that it stays centered there and gets all my points in there. That's kind of the idea of what I'm going to do here. All right, now that's a bad idea with that shape there because it's probably a little off, but you kind of get the idea now. That's really what I'm thinking. So I know right away, though, that since this is centered at 1, 1, 0, that my x distance here is going to be 5. So I do know right away that my general form for an equation is x. Now, actually, let me write this right. Yeah, I'll write this down. This will be okay. That this would be my general form. But since I'm off, my center now isn't 0, 0, 0. It's 1, 1, 0. That this is going to shift these. So this is going to be an x minus 1 squared over a squared. And I'll talk about that 5 in a second here, but I'll draw that in there for now. And then for my b, or my y, I should say, that's going to be y minus 1 squared over b squared. And then my z stays as just z squared over c squared equals 1. So again, I'm just taking this general form of the line, and I'm just adjusting it as needed, or as I see I learn information. Or as I learn information. There we we go. So I do know A as well, because remember I was talking about this distance from here to here. Since that's my center line, and I know this is an ellipse here, I know that that's going to be 5 squared. So this here, I can take out and put 25 there, because that's 5 squared. Now from there, I can figure out my y by just plugging in this point B here. And I could have did that with the first point too, with A, and figured it out. But I like to see the picture so I kind of know what I'm getting into. And also because this should complement the answers I get. Sometimes when I'm working on these problems, I make a mathematical error, and then I know it's wrong because I understand what picture I'm dealing with here. So in that way, this can be a huge benefit. So I'm going to rearrange a little bit, and then we'll get started on finding the B. So now what I meant by that, plugging B in now, I just simply mean just here is my X, here's my Y, and here's my Z. And I'm just going to plug those in for my X, Y, and Z. All right, so that's going to be 4 minus 1 squared over 25 plus 2 minus 1 squared over B squared plus 0 squared over C squared equals 1. So now this goes away. That's going to be 0. So I don't have to deal with that. I just want to say that right away. So this is really going to be 3 squared over 25. And I'm just going to write 9 there. And then plus 2 minus 1, which is 1 squared. So that's going to be 1 over B squared. And that's going to equal 1. So I'm going to move the 9/25 over to the other side. So 1 over B squared equals, and that's going to be a subtraction, so that's going to be 16/25. Okay. So then I multiply both sides by B squared. B squared. I get 1 equals 16 over 25 B squared. Oops. Divide by 16 over 25, I'll get 25 over 16 equals B squared. I square root both sides. And B is now going to equal 5/4. And it's going to be 5/4 because it can't be the negative 5/4. Because remember, when I divide or when I square root both sides, it's plus or minus. Since I'm talking about an ellipse here, I need only the positive one here. So my B is 5/4. So now I'm going to put that in. So just as I go, I'm adding those in. So now I have this one here so far. Now what I'm going to do is I got to find that C now. So I'm just going to use the last point because the last point has that Z in it too. If you notice, the first two had a 0 for Z. That's why I used them. And then now for the last one, I have a 1 for a Z, so now I can figure that one out. Okay, so now all I'm going to do is just plug in X, 1 for X, 2 for Y, and 1 for Z. And that's going to give us. So the first one here, zero's out. 1 minus 1 is 0. This here is going to give me a 1. 2 minus 1 is 1 squared, so it's going to be 1 over 25 over 16 plus 1 over C squared, and that equals 1. So now this here, since it's on the bottom, it's like a flip and multiply. So this is really 16/25 plus 1 over C squared equals 1. And then I'm just going to move that to the other side, so it's a subtraction. So then 1 over C squared actually equals 9/25. So then I multiply both sides by C and divide by 9/25. So I actually get C squared equals 25 over 9, which C then equals 5 over 3, so 5/3. So then for the equation, we get x minus 1 squared over 25 plus y minus 1 squared over 25/16 plus z squared over 25/9, because remember it's got to be squared, equals 1. So now for the final answer, I would actually flip and multiply those because this is a divide for those. So then I'm going to get x minus 1 squared over 25 plus 16y minus 1 squared over 25 plus 9z squared over 25 equals 1. So that's our final answer. And if we didn't know this wasn't an ellipsoid, we would know because these are all pluses and these are all squareds. So right away, when I see those kind of equations, I know that I'm dealing with an ellipsoid. So there's our answer for this one here.